What's up, everybody? My name is Amy, and this is the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast.
It's your way that you're sitting on top of the world.
What is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Happy Thursday. The only thing happy about this Thursday is it's Law and Order night. Other than that, my day's pretty quiet. Night's pretty quiet. Dog and I just laying here in bed, watching TV, watching movies, watching YouTube. You know, I have some case updates in things that are going on in the news. And both of them, the two main ones, are quite confusing, to be honest with you. In the case of missing 20-month-old Quinton Simon, the Chatham County Police Department did a presser at 1 a.m. Eastern Time today. They announced that excuse me, their investigation has led them to believe that 20-month-old Quinton Simon is deceased, and that his mother, Leilani Simon, is the prime suspect in the death of her 20-month-old son. However, as of this presser at 1 o'clock this afternoon, they had not actually found the remains yet of little Quinton Simon. They had not arrested his mother yet, Leilani. In fact, she's sitting at home having a big dinner with all of her family right now. All of them acting like nothing's happened. I can't imagine. I mean, you know, Dolly Vision and Bullhorn Betty are there on the scene, and you know, we all thought that they were having some kind of, you know, goodbye dinner, get together, and even their attorney was there. And thought, you know, maybe they're going to have this little get-together dinner, say their goodbyes, and, you know, the attorney would take her to the police department and she was going to turn herself in. Unfortunately, that was not the case. So, but the only thing that the Chatham County Police could really say in a nutshell is that they're still investigating and still searching for little Quinton's remains, and his mother's the prime suspect. However, until they have all of their evidence and they do find this child's remains and do an autopsy and whatnot, determine how he died and everything, they can't arrest her. They've got to have the physical and forensic proof that she did this to her son. So, they, until then, the arrests are on hold, and unless she actually confesses to the police and maybe goes in there and tells them what, where he is or whatever. There were some text messages put out by Grandma Billy Joe Howe between her and someone else, where she said that her grandson was deceased. Hi, Charlie K. How are you? The grandmother said that her grandson was deceased. He was in a landfill somewhere, and her daughter did it, and but had no recollection of it. Cue the Jody Arias fog, people. Cue the Jody Arias fog. And, it's so easy to Photoshop stuff and fake stuff these days. Fake emails, fake text messages, and fake, TikTok accounts and YouTube channels and whatnot. That, when someone puts out screenshots like that, it's hard to believe them. It's hard to know whether they're faked or not. Well, apparently, I guess these weren't faked. These were real. So, it's kind of confusing to me, because I don't know if the Chatham County Police are just, so on top of their game and so, into this investigation and doing everything right, including informing the public, because, informing the public is kind of at the bottom of their list. Yeah, she doesn't remember what happened, but she remembers that he's in a landfill. Yeah, like I said, roll out the Jody Arias fog until her trial, when she's at the very end of it, and then she finally remembers that she nearly beheaded Travis Alexander and remembered every bit of it, just to taunt his family. Hello, Marie Laveau. How are you? Good to see you here. Yeah, it's crazy. But I don't know if this is just a matter of Chatham County, just being on top of their game and, being good about keeping the media and the public informed of where their investigation's at. Because if you've been on YouTube more than 5 minutes, you know that when the police don't keep us updated on what's going on in an investigation, the conspiracy theories fly to the point that you don't know shit for Cheyenne in a case. You don't know what's true and what's not true. And the theories and information get so twisted and convoluted and conspiracy theories thrown in that you end up with a case like Tupac and Biggie, you know, there's been so much said about those two cases. We don't know what in the hayhire to believe about who killed them two. You know, the two biggest rappers in the world in the 90s. So, you know, and we all know that, like I said, if you've been on YouTube more than 5 minutes, you know that some of these cases have had so much added commentary to them, and people have been made suspects that the police didn't make a suspect. You know, and information has just been twisted and added and whatnot that, you know, hell, nobody knows what to believe about Summer Wells anymore. You know, yeah, exactly. Totally, Charlie. I mean, it's nuts. And now things have gotten out of control with the Kylie Rodney case, and a lot of bashing and lashing out, and, you know, things going on in that case that are heartbreaking, and they're wrong, and they're just, you know, it's terrible, and so much, you know, misinformation, and so much, you know, information that's been twisted around that, you know, poor Jagger, he's just lashing out. He's lashing out to AWP, and they're not responsible for him, the public, necessarily making him a suspect in Kylie's case. That was an assumption due to a witness statement, and turned into a fact. You know, that's how things go, because that's how, whether you are the big media or the YouTube media, things get put out there, and they go from it is believed, or it is speculated, or it is thought to be this, to this is that, this person did this person did that, to a fact. So I'm not sure what Chatham County's, you know, maybe they are letting her know that maybe this is a pressure tactic, and they're letting her know, hey, we know that you killed your son, and as soon as we find that baby and prove it, you're going down. So are they using this as a pressure tactic? It's hard to know, you know. But either, you know, whatever their reasoning for releasing the information that they released in the presser, you know, it kind of covers both things that I've stated. You know, it pressures her to confess, or you know, clear the fog, and, you know, it keeps us in the public and here in the YouTube community informed, so we don't have to speculate and start running wild with conspiracy theories. And because when a child goes missing, you know, there are multiple possibilities that could have happened. So, and you get people that buy into a certain possibility, and therefore you've got 100 different stories being put out. Yeah, the one crossing and dotting the I's, and so everything is done correctly. And no, get exactly. And I kudos to them, Marie. Kudos to the Chatham County Police Department for handling these things the way that they have. You know, that I called it. I just got that vibe from what was being said and what was floating around, that they knew very early that they did not have a missing child or a toddler that wandered out of his house, and they did not have an abduction. They knew that someone in the home was responsible for this child's disappearance. So, you know, that that's another thing, is that you know, we are seeing this every day, and we're seeing this so often that police, you know, they're not, I mean, yeah, they're actually still treating this as a missing child case, or they were before 1 o'clock, but it turned into a criminal investigation very early on. But they wanted to treat this as both, you know, and cover their bases. You know, I mean, there was a small possibility that maybe he wandered out of the house and something happened to him. Yeah, that you know, that's one of the things that I can't understand about Hawkins County. You know, what, I don't even want to get on it, because I get so angry. Like, you know, I think Ronnie Lawson knows Don and Candace know something, but he can't prove it. But he's sitting on his ass doing not a damn thing. Whereas Chatham County is on their game. And they're not going to stop. They're going to, you know, pound the pavement until they get you know, get the proof they need to arrest someone, arrest this mother, you know, who is their prime suspect. But, you know, something may come up here in a day or two or a week that, you know, that someone else might have been involved. You know, it's being said that the boyfriend's been cleared or whatnot, but you know, I honestly, from everything that's come out, I believe everybody who lives in that house is responsible for that child's death. Every single person in that house. You know, everyone knew what was going on. They were witnessing what was going on. These children were being abused. The babysitter even knew it. You know, and now we've got a deceased 20-month-old innocent child who never got a chance in life. And he's laying out there somewhere in a nasty garbage dump or in the woods or wherever he may be. And, you know, it's sickening. It is sickening, sickening, sickening. And I was saying yesterday they're going to have to build a new prison for all these parental child murderers, and fuck it, just take them all down to Guantanamo Bay. You know, it's and it just keeps getting worse, and it's going to get worse. Mark my words, it is going to get worse. Yeah, we may have safe haven laws, but mark my words, you will see a rise in babies being found. Dumpsters, rivers, lakes, and more children are going to keep dying until someone does something. And this is, I've been preaching this for 2 days, that this is going to have to be brought to national attention and to the attention of the federal government and the President of the United States, the same way human trafficking was, because this is a serious, serious problem that we've got on our hands, and it affects us all. Yeah, like nothing, just like garbage. I don't know. Um, you know, some of these parents, at least, who try to cover up their child's death, will wrap them up in a blanket and bury them, or or something. They have some type of empathy and sympathy within their soul. But to just throw your child in a garbage can, a garbage dump, or out in the woods for predators, animal predators, and it's sickening. It's sickening. And I was on drugs in the 90s. I drank like a fish in the 90s. I've never been so strung out. I've never been so drunk as to do some of the horrible things that these people are doing to these children. So I don't completely blame it on, like drugs or alcohol. Yeah, bring back public hangings, town square stonings, because that's what these people deserve. I've said that about the people who killed Cupcake McKinney. They deserve to be hung up on the courthouse lawn and stoned to death by everyone in Birmingham, Alabama, and hung at dawn. Plain and simple. I'm a very loving and caring and overly empathetic and sympathetic person. But if you cross that line, and I can overlook a lot of stuff, I can excuse a lot of stuff. I've got friends who are in prison for murder, but that doesn't define who they are to me. I know more about those people than just what took place in one day. So, I can overlook and excuse a lot of things. But if you cross that line, as low down as it is with me, I go from 0 to 60 in 1 minute. I don't give a shit. I don't care if they send you to the gas chamber, the bomb squad, the firing squad, the electric chair, or they set you on fire alive. The only thing you can do with evil is kill it. That's the only thing you can do with evil. Remember back to the Salem witch trials and they thought these people were witches. So they burned them at the stake. You know, nobody had any qualms about that. Nobody had any qualms about hanging people. Hell, there's a TV show on. I watch it every week where they're hanging people on the wall. Yeah, God forgive me, but this is, I just feel like that when you cross the line of, murder is murder and murder is wrong. But, then again, shit happens. My friend is in prison for murder because he caught his wife in bed with another man and killed them both. You can understand that to some extent. But to beat a defenseless child to death or to drug a defenseless child or and throw them in landfills and tote boxes and bury them in walls and storage sheds and maybe I ought to issue a trigger warning. Kind of late for that, but I think you've all just about heard it all. That is just, there is no excuse for that. Exactly. I still protect my children, and they are grown and married and got kids of their own. But I still do what I have to do to protect them. And even if it's just advice. My youngest daughter and I, we have a system. And we've had this system in place since she was young. And she lives in another state. She is grown. She is married. But when she goes out certain places and goes to certain events, we have a system set up still to this day for her protection. And it works. And she has no qualms about it. She had no qualms about it when she was young. She has no qualms about it now that she's grown and married. That's fine. I'm just, it's horrible, Charlie, and but I think if you've been in the true crime community or been a true crime junkie for more than 5 minutes, people already know how horrific these things are and how horrific they've gotten. some of the cases that I'm covering of all these people that are sitting in jail are cases of parents killing their children, and with some of the most graphic and horrific details. It's it's hard to believe people like that walk amongst us and we don't know who they are. You know, they look like normal people. If you walked by Megan Boswell in Walmart, would you suspect that she did all the horrific stuff she did to her little baby Evelyn? No. I remember there's this episode of CSI when Lawrence Fishburne came on the show and became a part of the cast. He started out as a professor, and he had this deal with this serial killer named Nate Haskell, and he's teaching this class, and he says, some of you have asked, what does the face of evil look like? They look just like you and me. Yeah, these children are not safe anywhere. They're not safe at home. They're not safe at school. They're not safe at church. They're not safe at basketball practice or cheerleading practice, or, you know, you've got coaches, you've got music teachers, choir directors, church, youth ministers, and that are all just sick in the head, and you don't know who they are. You don't know who they are. I've had to accept things about people that I never dreamed of having to accept. But, it's unfortunately nothing shocks me anymore. Nothing shocks me anymore. And that's part of the problem, in our society, is that we have been so desensitized that nothing shocks us anymore. Nothing, is beyond belief. But you have people like me who were born and grew up in a different era where moral values were taught. But then you have this new generation that is just, they have no, and my poor youngest daughter, she's heard this speech a million times about her generation. She knows I'm not talking to her. I'm talking to her generation. It's what we like to call the me generation. And these kids just have no qualms, no care in the world about the repercussions of their actions. The amount of school shootings have increased. Here in Louisiana, we have. Oh, I'm not surprised. My son-in-law's from Louisiana. I actually have an old boyfriend who is a detective in Louisiana, in Shreveport. Yeah, me too. I wish everybody was born in the 60s and 70s, but it just seems like, and with me, being born and being living through an era where you didn't you didn't say the F word on national television. You didn't I grew up watching shows where people didn't sleep in the same bed. They slept in double beds, and where a 60-something-year-old man was able to adopt a 10-year-old little girl. um I grew up on the Brady Bunch and Gilligan's Island, and you know of course, all the funny shows like What's Happening and things like that, and Good Times and Fred Sanford, and all that. And I just it's just so much has ruined our society. And I feel like I've been watching it since the 90s, like a bad fucking movie, like a real bad movie that it's like a VCR tape that when it gets to the end of the movie, it just rewinds and plays over again. Rewind and play over again. Rewind and play over again. And, it's just, it's nuts. Also, speaking of school shooters, the verdict came in for Nicholas Cruz for the Parkland shootings. As you all know, he pled guilty, and the sentencing phase has been going on for several weeks now in his case, determining whether he should get life in prison or the death penalty. And I've watched a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it. And there were sometimes that I just had to walk away. But, you know, the details in what Nicholas Cruz did are horrific. And this jury had, I'm going to be honest, this jury had a very hard decision to make. A lot of people out here in the real world, just think, oh, well, he killed 17 people, so therefore we should give him the death penalty. He don't deserve to live. And maybe you're right, but that's not how the law works. And, the law states and stipulates different things in each state, different things just, generally speaking. So, if you followed the case, the Parkland shooting case, yeah, exactly. Even if they had given him the death penalty, it's not like they were going to execute him next week or tomorrow. But, there were a lot of factors in about Nicholas Cruz that this jury had to consider. And, some of these factors by law don't allow you to impose the death penalty. Technically, you're not supposed to put someone to death who suffers from mental illness or learning disabilities or, certain things like that, even though they have. And if you weren't mentally ill when you went to death row, you became mentally ill by the time you got off of it or by the time you were executed, like Eileen Warnos. They didn't even consider her past and what she'd been through as a child. But Nicholas Cruz, was born with fetal alcohol syndrome, born to an alcohol addicted mother, ended up being put up for adoption and, adopted by people. He suffered from learning disabilities. He suffered from severe mental illness, obviously. I don't know what all he's been diagnosed with, but it's clear, it's obvious, and it's been proven. So these were things that they had to consider regarding Nicholas Cruz. And the way I understand it, he has gotten life for the Parkland shootings. The verdict reading is very complicated, and because he killed 17 people, and these 17 people were each considered individually as a victim. They weren't just considered like a group, or as a whole. So he was charged with 17 counts of murder, plus a whole host of other stuff. Burglary and murder in the commitment of burglary and firearm charges and all kinds of stuff. In some of the cases, they did believe that mitigating or factors outweighed the mitigating circumstances to get the death penalty, but they voted against giving him the death penalty, even though the evidence warranted the death penalty. And I mean, I get it. If you, like I said, this jury had a very tough job. And if you take your emotions out of a case, as hard as that is to do, and consider what the law stipulates and what the charge is, then you can, that's how they, I believe, came to the life sentence decision. Which, we actually, whether we like it or not, or whether we like the outcome or not, you have to consider that, be happy that these people went strictly by the law and sentenced him appropriately by what the law would allow them to do, and not just go off on emotion and just give, or some far-fetched story, and give them, the death penalty. We've seen that being done in a lot of cases over the last few years, major cases with like Derek Chauvin and George Floyd, in the Ahmaud Arbery case, with the defendants in that case, Kim Potter, and the shooting of Dante Wright. We've been seeing several cases at Kyle Rittenhouse. Whether you like that outcome or not, they went, all these cases were considered by what the law stipulated and what the charges were. And, I'm all about a fair trial and a fair jury. So, I'm happy with this, because as hard as it is not to, we can't go off our emotions, unfortunately. Emotions is what led us to an eye for an eye. And that's in the Old Testament. But the New Testament says we're to go by it, that we're not to go by the Old Testament. And if you're not religious or believe in God, then, you're not going to understand a damn word I'm saying. But, that's how it is, whether we like it or not. The world has, it feels like that things have started becoming the Wild West again. Everybody's carrying, you have open carry laws and all this, and they're wanting to give guns to teachers, they're wanting to be allowed to have guns in church, and it's just like things are turning back into the Wild West again. And although I would be grateful that if I were in a situation that someone saved my life because they had an open carry license or whatever, I don't want the world to be like the Wild West again either. So, the way things are now, it's hard for me to function in this world. And it's confusing, and it's heartbreaking, and it's emotional, and it'll weigh you down. Especially when you're someone like me who is an over empath. And in the I have said several times that I'm not a saint. Okay, I'm no saint. I have a past. I have my faults. I'm not going to stand here and try to tell you that I've always obeyed my mother, that I haven't lied to her, that she and I didn't have arguments, and and whatnot. But, that was a part of growing up. And now I feel like the next worst sin that I could commit next to sinning, against God is sinning against my mother and and sinning against the people that raised me. And some of them are still alive. Some of those people are still alive. My mother's deceased, but I feel like the worst sin I could commit would be to sin against them and the way they raised me and the moral values that they raised me with. I don't want to do that. It's too important to me. It's I'm proud of the people that raised me, and I'm proud of the way that I was raised and the moral values that I was raised with. I was raised by the neighborhood. My mother was disabled. She was in and out of the hospital. She developed rheumatoid arthritis overnight when I was 3 months old. She had her first surgery when I was 3. So the neighbors in our little neighborhood helped raise me. And these are all good home, down home, Southern hospitality, country folks. And who raised me, with good moral values. And, I'll never forget the night that I stayed out past dark down at Donna's house. Past time the street lights came on. And Sonny had to come find me. Sonny was a good man. He had his faults, but he was a good man. And he was a good father to me. A good, adopted father, so to speak. But it only took one time for that man to have to get on to me. And I never wanted him to have to get on to me again. One time. So, that's just kind of how I feel, and the things that, affect me now in the age and era that we're in this world. It's tough functioning in today's society. It's no wonder why I live out in the sticks by myself in the peace and quiet. That's exactly why. If I would just throw my phone away and get rid of social media, and I would probably be better off. But unfortunately, true crime is my passion, and even though I didn't choose it, it chose me. It's something that I'm very passionate about. It's something that I am, I just want to do my part and what I can to, bring awareness to the evil and horrible things that are happening in the world. because there's some people out here that don't know. I mean, they for real don't know. You ask somebody, have you uh um been following the Summer Wells case? No. Who's that? What happened? You know, these people don't have a clue as to what's going on in the real world. True crime's not their thing. They don't, unless it affects them, unless there's a crime in their family, they don't worry about what's going on with everybody else. Um, Unfortunately, I wasn't wired that way. Um, so, I can't, I was talking about this last night. I see these people who want to stand around and film everything with their cell phones rather than get involved. They'd rather stand and film somebody getting the shit beat out of them, but they don't want to do anything to help them. They're just going to stand there and record it. Great minds think alike, Marie. Um, the lack of people that don't want to get involved. I have been in two situations where I had to react to someone's being injured. The first time was this girl. I worked in Hot Springs at a club, and my friend and I were driving home that night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, and this vehicle passed us on the 4 lane, and she and I weren't speeding. We weren't even driving the speed limit. We were just tootling along doing about 45, literally in a 55. Just yeah, 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 back and forth. And I look up and I see that vehicle that passed us at the 4 lane, at the beginning of the 4 lanes, off in the ditch with the whole side of it wiped out. And I see an 18-wheeler headed straight for us with the axle in the middle of that 18-wheeler dragging the ground. I'm like, holy shit. I slammed on the brakes, threw my car sideways, jumped out, went and helped get this girl out of her vehicle, got her, in my arms to observe her and speak with her and keep her conscious. And I had a towel in my car, which was clean. It wasn't like it was an old grease rag or anything, but I happened to have a towel in my car. And my first priority was to make sure that she was not bleeding from anywhere. And if she was, to stop the bleeding. I called her parents. Actually the truck driver had already called the police, and I called her parents, and her parents came to the scene and everything, and I stayed there with her and tended to her and took care of her. And but was I worried about her having hepatitis? Was I worried about her having HIV or AIDS? No. Was I worried about, possibly touching, human blood? No. My only reaction was to save her life if I needed to. Same thing with this dude that came flying through our neighborhood one day in hot July. I'm talking, it was 101 degrees that day. My daughter and I had been outside in the pool, and we had just come in and had sat down, was eating a little bit, and we were watching Toddlers and Tiaras. And then all of a sudden we hear boom, and the power goes out. We're both still in our bathing suits. We go running outside. This guy has hit the curb in front of my house, hit the curb in front of the neighbors. He's bounced back and forth, flipped upside down, and hit the light pole at the end at the corner, wiping out all the electricity. There are people standing around doing absolutely nothing. So my neighbor Corey and I go drag this poor dude out of the middle of the road. I get him over into somebody's front yard on the grass. I'm doing everything I have to do to keep him conscious and ask him, is there somebody I can call? Can I call your mother, father, wife, girlfriend, whoever? You know, I get a towel, I get a wet towel of ice from somebody after beating on their door. And, you know, I'm tending this guy's head injury. I'm trying to keep him conscious and whatnot. And he's losing consciousness. And there's a good 15 people standing there watching, doing absolutely nothing. And this guy was drunker than Cooter Brown. But again, was I worried about AIDS or hepatitis? No. It was my first reaction to treat this guy. No matter if he was drunk and just wiped out the electricity and it was 100 fucking degrees outside. You know, that's just not how I was wired. And about a week or so later, one of the people that was standing there doing absolutely nothing, because that's the kind of person he is. He's an absolute worthless piece of shit that I could not stand him. Catches me over at the gas station. And he says, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I do not speak ghetto. You are white. Talk to me like you are white. And then he mumbled again something, and I basically caught the gist of what he was saying to me. Basically, he was telling me I was stupid for saving that guy's life. That I should have left his sorry ass in the road. And I'm like, dude, fuck you. I wasn't wired like that. Just because you're a piece of shit doesn't mean I'm a piece of shit. And, I just couldn't believe, I mean, I could believe this guy said this to me because, like I said, I knew this guy really well. And he's just a sorry ass, worthless piece of shit. He was born into a rich family that had money, and he was spoiled, and then he was disowned by his family, and he was just a worthless piece of shit. And you know um that's just another thing that really bothers me that's going on in this world, is that people just don't want to get involved. They don't want to help someone. They don't want to stand up for something, or rock the boat or whatever. I wasn't raised like that. I I ain't wired like that. But seriously, you know, I'm I mean, I'm fine with Nicholas Cruz getting a life sentence. He'll be in jail for the rest of his life. He'll never hurt anyone ever again, hopefully. He did attack a guard at the jail, but it's going to be a quite different picture for him once he gets to prison, actual prison. It's not going to be like the county jail where they have to, keep him safe and keep him isolated and keep him, you know, under watchful eye. Once he's sentenced, you know, that's it. Bye bye, off to prison he goes. And it's going to be a rude awakening for him. I hope that they do find little Quinton Simon soon, and get this mother charged soon. Um, uh, you know, um, with searching a landfill. If this child is in a landfill, it's not going to be easy. And you got to consider that if he was disposed of, it's been 8, 9 days now. 8, 9 days ago, that garbage has been moved around. Some of it's been buried, or how incinerated. I don't know. I haven't checked into all that yet. I don't even know what landfill they're looking at. They're not saying. Um, so, I do hope that we're able to find his remains and charge her. Um, I said, that this case reminded me of a little boy that went missing in 2014 in Searcy, Arkansas, Malik Drummond. And it took a little over a year to find him and to charge his father with his death. Same similar circumstances, same similar story that they gave the police, same similar home situation. And it's just horrible. It's horrible what parents are doing to their children. So anyway, that's really all I have for right now. Hi, it matters. How are you? You're going to have to listen to my live from last night. 002 will tell you that I was, you get to see me mad for the first time. Well, actually for the second time, because I did kind of get ugly in one of my videos with the other creator who crossed that raw nerve with me and pissed me off to the point of no return. But what I mean, how do you all feel? Charlie and Marie and Pam and Griff and I mean, how do y'all feel about the Parkland verdict with Nicholas Cruz, and how do y'all feel about what's happening with the Quinton Simon case? What are your thoughts on all of it? Are you okay with him getting a life sentence? Do you think that he should have gotten the death penalty? Do and what are your thoughts on Quinton Simon? And yes, Cruz should rot in jail. I hope this don't make too much noise, but well, yeah, the verdict was very complicated because it involved, of course, 17 individual counts of murder plus a whole host of other charges, and they had to consider whether mitigating factors were present, did the evidence outweigh the mitigating factors in each individual case. 17 individual cases, so it was pretty complicated. But in a nutshell, he got a life sentence as opposed to the death penalty. And all it would have taken was for them to choose the death penalty in one of those 17 murders. Yeah, just young, dumb, and we don't know yet. It is believed that she, trigger warning, beat him to death. That's what is being put out there, but not sure yet. Maybe it could have been an accident. Maybe she could have smothered him or strangled. I mean, I hate to even say, it pains me to even say those things, but we just don't know yet what his cause of death is. But I can tell you, whatever his cause of death is, it was violent. It was very violent. Right, exactly. I agree with you. Um, that whole family is violent. Every one of them have got a violent record. The grandmother has been violent with two different people in 2 days, and it was all caught on camera. And so, I believe that. And then supposedly there's a brother that's in prison for murder from 2011. And I mean, this entire family is full of violence. And so I pity to think how this child died. I know he was disposed of in a despicable way, so I don't expect his cause of death to be any less despicable. Yeah, I believe she did. I mean, I'm just saying, that as of right now, we don't officially know um, what his cause of death is, but it we we pretty much know. We just need official confirmation on it. Yeah, I don't believe there was an accident either, but I feel like, to be fair, I have to say that, and consider all possibilities, but I don't believe for a hot minute that it was any accident. My dog's wanting out. Well, I am. But why him? Why did he? I don't know. He had siblings, just like in the Malik Drummond case. He had siblings. Now, to my understanding, um, like with Malik, he and his siblings were all abused. And to my understanding, in this Quinton Simon case, all of these children have been abused. But in the Gloria Williams case, all those children are abused. But one out of the children ends up deceased, and you just have to wonder what that child did that was so horrible that warranted abuse like that. I'm sorry, there's nothing a child could do. Do you have any idea what kind of crap my oldest daughter did when she was a young kid? I mean, that child, one mischief thing after another. She was sanding on Dean's newly painted truck. She cut all the wires and the seats in her grandpa's party barge. Lord, she hid the keys from us one time and wouldn't tell nobody where they were. She put the cat in the refrigerator, dog food in my dryer. That child was forever doing some mischievous shit. And never once did she get a spanking for any of it. Yeah. Whatever happened in the middle of the night, I believe. The boyfriend says that the baby was laying in his crib asleep. I mean, he assumed, or so he says, when he went to work. I'm not for sure what time he claims to have gone to work, but she sent a you took apart your aunt's TV when you were 12. Ooh. Um, you know, I he she texted the babysitter around 5:30 a.m. and said that she wouldn't have to babysit the kids today, which she thought was odd. And then at 6 a.m. is when she claimed she last saw the child. Um, and she was asleep and woke up at 9 o'clock and he was gone. So, you know, her story makes absolutely no sense. And something was wrong very early on. So I believe whatever happened sometime during the night. Maybe the boyfriend knows what happened. Maybe he don't know what happened. You know, I don't know. We won't know really, you know, until we find out his, you know, his actual cause of death and whatnot, and find out, you know, exactly what happened, and you know what the coroner or the medical examiner, um, if they're able to determine a time of death, or you know, a roundabout a time of death. The neighbor said the mother left shortly after 6 and did not return. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. And I want to call after the babysitter. Yeah, yeah, that's the official story I'm hearing. And yeah, that's some shitty planning, you know. I don't know why these people think that they can kill their kids, or even if something is an accident, and cover it up. Somebody sees something somewhere every second of the day. Big brother is always watching. You can't flick a booger anymore. You can't pick your underwear out of your ass anymore in public. Some kind of camera is going to pick you up. And, you know, I just don't, you know, and your neighbors have cameras on their homes and their doorbells, and you know, motion detectors and all kinds of stuff. And you've got license plate readers, and you know, trail cams, and light traffic cameras, and you know, there's just cameras everywhere. Did the boyfriend? Yes, they all lived there. They all lived in that house, but the grandmother was trying to kick them out and get rid of them. The grandmother had custody of Quinton, and she had just taken and gotten a court order for the mother to pay child support. And in the midst of trying to kick her daughter and her boyfriend out, you know, this was a very this was a home in complete turmoil at the time of this child's disappearance. So, you know, who knows if she didn't just take her own son's life out of spite to her mother, you know, just out of pure spite. Grandmother was, I don't know. I've not heard much about the grandfather. I've not heard anything other than his name mentioned. Um, I'll come and smoke. Um, yeah, he did leave the house. Um, but I don't the boy but the stepfather, other than his name, no one's really said much about him. But I can tell you, as of 11 o'clock today, they were all piled up at the house having a big dinner and family get together, and had a bunch of food delivered to their home, like they're having some kind of damn family reunion. Put up on Yes, yes. I I don't know what to, I just don't know what to think about grandma. She scares the hell out of me. Yeah, Dolly and Bullhorn Betty are there on the scene. And yeah, it's been Dolly had some dude pissed off throwing French fries at him, and uh someone popped off to Bullhorn Betty, and you can imagine where that led. And you know, um, but the only people that get pissed off about the media being in front of their house, whether it be YouTube creators or the real media, because they're both there. Somebody will get away. Yeah, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. You know, that's how we caught Chris Watts. You know, yeah, the neighbor throwing French fries at Dolly offered him some donuts today. He didn't want none though. But yeah, it's I get it. It's a tense situation. When your neighbors are involved, you ain't done nothing wrong, but your neighbors are involved in something, and you got all these people camped outside your house, and you know, in the streets, and cameras and news and all that kind of stuff. It's annoying, but you know, if you if it pisses you off that bad, then you just don't want to. I feel like you don't want to see justice done for that child. And we, the public, have the right to, be informed. That's why we have media. And, it is what it is. And then these families that get pissed off about it, why do they get pissed off about it? Because they're guilty. That's why Chris and Roberta Laundrie were pissed off. That's why these people have been pissed off. Because they're guilty. And they're ashamed. The time that Leilani has been spotted outside the home or leaving the home, she's covering her face. And a lot of people are wearing hoodies in and out of there. Have caught, now I think about it. Oh, I know. Believe me, hey, I am more than thankful for the advancement in technology. When it's used and worked with in a positive way. Um, you know, um, I don't like just like social media, social media is a good way to get out the news of what's going on in the world. It's a good way to keep up with friends and family that live all over the world, um, and share pictures and all that. Yeah, if you have nothing to hide, then why hide your face? Exactly. Um, if you remember, Roberta Laundrie wore her mask like she was overly paranoid about catching the Rona. She kept her mask on when she was in the truck, when she was walking out of the house, when she was walking into the house. Um, you know, you never heard a peep out of that woman. Not one peep out of her. So, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. If you don't want the media camped outside your damn house, and don't kill your kids. Kind of that simple. It's not that hard. It's not rocket science. I know, buddy, you're waiting on me. Y'all, my dog. Yeah, yeah, I knew Brian was guilty. I knew that someone in this family was guilty. You know, um, just like when the Kylie Rodney case broke, it immediately took me back to a case that my group and I advocated for. And her name is Olivia Jane Ward. Janie Ward. Um, Similar circumstances, went to a high school party when she was 16 and mysteriously died. And there were a lot of things, in her case that weren't right, that were suspicious, and but unfortunately, we don't know to this day what truly happened to Janie. You know, so the deal with Kylie Rodney immediately took me back to Janie Ward, and then as many cases of missing, kids that have been going on in these last couple of 2 or 3 years. Um, this case immediately took me back to Malik Drummond. And I just knew, that this kid didn't wander out of his house. He wasn't abducted. Um, and the police there knew, you know, they pretty much figured it out very quickly. And I'm glad they did. As I said, I think that Ronnie Lawson knows that Don and Candace are are guilty to some degree, or know exactly what happened to Summer. He just can't prove it. But he's sitting on his ass not doing a damn thing about it. Whereas Chatham County has gotten off their ass and they're doing something about it, and they're not going to stop until they find this child and they are able to arrest her. Murder is murder. Yeah. It's just awful. It's awful. But my dog is over here dancing and squirming and needs to go potty. So I'm gonna have to get off here, y'all. Lonnie said that in the beginning. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that don't mean he has to be an asshat about things, you know. I just don't feel like, and this is just my opinion, I just don't feel like Don and Candace have ever been pressured enough. You know, I don't know. But before this dog pees in my floor, I'm going to have to go. Um, Thank you, Charlie and Marie and Pam, for coming in and joining me today and talking about all this. I do my very best to keep my videos about true crime in some way, shape, fashion, or form. But yesterday last night I had some things to say. There's only so much I can ignore and shit that I can just let go. When you hit one of them raw nerves inside of me, it's on like Donkey Kong. So, yes, everyone, please hit the like button, share, subscribe. I want to get in the algorithm. I want to get to where more people see my videos, more people come into my chat. Um, it's free to subscribe, it's free to like, it's free to leave a comment. I don't flash my Cash App. Unless I just absolutely desperately needed something that I had no choice but to ask for help, then I don't need it. Um, you know, I've 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 been broke a long time, so I've learned to live without uh, a lot. So, but you all have a wonderful day, and as always, my motto: please be the change that you wish to see in this world. As Michael Jackson said, it starts with the man in the mirror. Peace out, everyone. Have a wonderful day.